Alrighty. Hi, everyone. How are we doing today? I'm good myself. Welcome to the Leo Rojas podcast, where we have real, honest conversations about mental health, growth, and the unexpected path life takes us. I'm your host, Leo Rojas, and this is a space where we leave perfection at the door and just show up as we are. Sometimes life doesn't go the way we planned, and that can feel like the end of a story. But today, we're talking about how those moments can be a beginning of a new path. Joining me is guest speaker Professor Michael Meningas from the Lone Star Honors College in Montgomery, and he's a Leo. Hey, how you doing today, sir?
Doing well, mate. Doing well.
I'm good, sir. Someone who's been part of my journey, my academic journey, and who also knows what it's like to pivot, to rebuild, and to find strength in the unexpected paths. Yeah, thank you for being here. Would you like to share a little bit about yourself today?
A little bit about myself. Sure. So, as you said, we know each other through Lone Star College and through the Honors College. So I'm excited to be able to have this conversation with you, not just because I'm involved with the Honors College, but I think mental health in general is just such a really important topic for our society, and especially our younger population, our young adults, our youth itself. And it's something that we focus a lot on within our program to try to make sure our students are in the best possible mental health that they can be, knowing it's a challenge, and that they should never feel like they're going through it alone.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I just want to start this episode by saying this. I know the class of 2025 just graduated recently, so congratulations to y'all. Whether you're graduating high school, whether you graduate with an associate's, bachelor's, or master's, whatever it is, congratulations, you made it, and this is the next step in your journey.
It's a great accomplishment. All of those tiers, and folks will work their way through those, and some may go in different directions and still be incredibly contributive members of society, regardless of a degree or title. But the effort, Leo, that goes into just being a graduate, whichever level it is tremendous. And so I agree. We extend my hearty congrats as well.
Thank you, sir. And I know there's this pressure that, man, you have to take this next step after you graduate. Congratulations. And there's this pressure of like, man, what's your next step? What's the next step for your journey? And then sometimes there could be this pressure that, man, we have to have life all figured out by the time we graduate, right? And I see it in our everyday lives. And we get this idea by now that we're supposed to know exactly where we're going, that we're supposed to have the plan and just stick to that, right? But here's the thing, sometimes life, it changes. Life paths change. It doesn't go exactly as planned. And in a way, I think there's a beauty in that because, man, if you just had your whole life planned out, you really couldn't have any room for surprises, which could be great. And when that happens at the beginning, you can feel a bit scary. It can feel a bit overwhelming. And I think the purpose of this is to help people find a way that, sometimes change can be good.
Yeah. I'd also add to that, Leo. I think change is opportunity. It doesn't mean it's easy all the time, right? But change is opportunity. So I totally agree with that. Talking about young people and say in particular being in college and getting a degree. Because I think when you're in high school and you're going that next step, if you are going to college, you almost feel like it's an extension of education. So it's familiar. There's a little less stress involved in that. Start getting into the program you want or the college you want can cause some stress. But for the idea of what that is or what it looks like, it is similar because you've been in the educational system. But I think once you're leaving that sort of bubble of academia, I totally hear what you're saying. I know I experienced that when I was younger, just trying to figure out, okay, what's going to be the next step? And I think the thing now, being old, right, and having had several different types of jobs and working in a variety of industries, I can tell you, you might not always know, and that's okay. It's it doesn't comfort one sometimes not knowing, but having faith and trust in the process, if you will, and in yourself, that it's going to work itself out. I think if you can help folks figure that part out and come to terms with that, that also can create a level of sort of foundation support moving forward, knowing that the best may be yet to come and it may not be defined. And I even share with students your age, the job you have 10, 15 years from now may not even exist right now, right? So if you're trying to figure out what job you're getting right now, depending on your industry, it's very likely that this world is moving so fast that it may not exist yet. So give yourself a little bit of a chance to kind of find your way into it. I like to say to folks, I've got wanderlust. I just love to explore. I've always been sort of like the next sets of adventure. And so that worked out well for me in higher ed when I first started out, because I would move from school to school every 3 to 4 years, getting different progressively more responsible roles and higher levels. But, I guess sharing a little bit in the backside of my head of when I'm doing that is I love the adventure of the new challenge and the new communities and the new opportunities, because I just never know what it's going to be and where can I contribute? What can I help hopefully that community get out of it? So, but if I'm not open to the possibilities, the what ifs, the thing that could be just coming down the pike or around the corner, if we're so planned, like you said, it can make it really difficult to appreciate that.
Right. And I agree. Because for me, that moment actually came to me recently, where I realized the path that I thought I was supposed to be on wasn't really working for me. Because for me, I was in the same spot last year. I graduated high school and I was super excited to go to college, which the plan was to go to A&M. And I went there for a little bit, but part of me was like, man, I wasn't even sure, because for me, my major was engineering.
Yeah.
I picked it just because I had to pick a major.
Sure.
I wasn't really exactly, I didn't research or anything. I'm like, oh, I have to pick something. I'll go with engineering. That was the thing for me. And when I got to college at A&M, it hit me that like, man, I'm not sure if I want to stick with this path, complete all 4 years and have a job that I'm not sure if I would really like to start off with, right? And that's okay, because I have a lot of respect for A&M, for their engineers, for their industries, right? But maybe that wasn't the path for me, and that's okay, right?
True.
So,
True.
and for me, I was a little bit overwhelmed. I was like, man, if I step off this path, what are other people going to view me as? Am I going to be viewed as someone who can feel that I'm not strong enough to sustain this? How are people going to perceive me when I make a decision like that? And
that's a lot of pressure, man.
Yeah, it was a lot of pressure. Yeah.
And I tend to find in those, we tend to be looking at ourselves a lot more than other people are looking at us. Right. And so, if you can give yourself a little bit of charity in those moments, right? To say, okay, so maybe this plan didn't work. Okay, what's another plan, right? Like pivot, adjust, figure out, try things, risk failure in certain areas so you can learn and grow and move positively in other directions. Like, it's a matter of giving ourselves the chance to do it, right? We're always, at least I am, I can't say all of us, but I'm always my worst critic, my own worst critic, right? And so I think being able to give a little bit of charity in those moments and recognize that as much as we always think like people are watching us or do whatever, more times than not, they're not. It's really just us being more self-conscious about it.
Right. Yeah. And I know we like to bring this term a lot in the honors college of the imposter syndrome.
Yes.
Right. And we're like, man, do we belong in this community? Are we good enough to be here? And we, like you said, we're kind of ourselves like own worst critic, right? That says, man, I don't know, how are other people going to perceive me and things like that. So I think it ties into a lot of what the honors community says here.
It does. It does. It absolutely does. Everybody who's in the honors college deserves to be there, right? They've demonstrated the capacity. They've got the academic chops. They're eligible based on the criteria. They all deserve to be there. Now, the question is, what you're going to do with that. And if you start comparing yourself to everybody, and I tend to find a lot of times that people in the honors college, in their own circles, maybe in academia, where they came out of high school, what have you, may have been, like a top academic within their space, a top scholar, one of the better students, if you will. Well, now when you start pulling the better students from all the different schools around and you consolidate them in an honors program, you got a lot of big fish swimming in that pond together. And it's in some ways that's great because it can be really inspiring and you can really sort of drive and motivate each other. But other times, if you get into the comparison game, you can feed that imposter syndrome. You can fuel that anxiety a lot more. And so I think we try to establish really early on with our students, like, this needs to be about your path, your journey. Give yourself the chance to really lean into it and know that we are all here to help support you. I never feel like I'm doing anything on my own. I know that I've got my student leaders that I can lean on. I've got my fellow staff members I can lean on. And frankly, if I'm trying to do it only on my own, then it's not going to be the best possible product for the students we're serving. So I think if our students are able to look at their education the same way, like this community is here to help you all get to, bright places and amazing locations and schools and jobs and parts of the community. Realizing that we do that stuff together can make a big difference.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're all in this journey together. Like, we're all here to help each other, help pivot each other, to help guide each other on the right path. And that's what I found the importance when I entered the honors college, was the importance of a community.
Yeah.
Of always having people you can rely on, people you can ask for advice, people who you can give advice, because we're all in different steps. We're all on our own different journeys, but we can all help each other out to get where we want to be.
Absolutely. Again, I've certainly had some experience and time on earth, a little bit more so than you all, but my experience isn't necessarily going to relate to yours, right? And you might not see yourself in me. And so having a variety of folks around that you can connect with and get different thoughts and ideas, and frankly, even if you don't connect or relate to me, being able to hear my story or hear other people's stories can help give you context, right? And stuff that you can generate some ideas, some thoughts, some possible paths forward for yourself that maybe work out, and maybe some of them don't, but it gives you the chance to do it as a part of a community, which I think is always more effective, but frankly, it's also more satisfying. I think, when we do these things in the secret and silence of our own rooms, or in I'd like to say the dark corners, it's, to me at least, it's just a little less satisfying, probably because of the nature of the work I'm doing is trying to help others, right? Help serve others, help them be able to accomplish their goals and their dreams. So it's really hard to kind of do that by yourself, isolated in your silo, at least, and be effective, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah, I agree 100% in that. I want to talk about the word failure for a bit, because I don't think we are necessarily failures when we change plans, right?
Oh,
There's
not at all.
there's this stigma that, oh, we didn't finish this path, you're a failure. And I want to talk about that word a little bit, because
Absolutely.
sometimes if you're listening right now and you feel like you're off track or you mess up, I want you to remember that you're still in motion, right? You're still growing as a person.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
You're still in motion.
Yes.
That's a great visual.
Yeah. Thank you. And you're still becoming, and that's enough, right? You're still growing every single day. Like, you're still alive. The journey is still happening. Doesn't mean that you change path. That doesn't mean it's cut off. Yeah, there's another path.
Oh, yeah. So it's funny though, because everything you're saying, I feel, is highly targeted to your listeners, maybe, being college age students or younger folks. But even myself, I just turned 53 last month, and everything you're saying still pertains to me. That's why I love this visual you just gave me as metaphor. We're constantly in motion, and as long as we're still working to be in motion, then I absolutely 100% agree with you. I think that is not that's not fair. You might have something not go right, and you can even call it failure, because I think the word failure it's loaded, right, in our psyche and in our society, and people want to steer away from that because they think it's something that means they're not good, or they're not moving forward, like you said. In my estimation, in reality, that concept of failure is just meaning I may have failed to, or might not have accomplished that which I was trying to do, right? Failure is me stopping there. Failure is me not moving forward and trying to figure out, okay, how do I learn from this, and how do I apply this going forward? How do I continue my forward movement? That's the failure. But being able to learn from that possible fail, or that possible, lack of accomplishment, that you just need to keep moving it forward. As long as you're doing that, you're good. And I try not to get caught up in the word failure, but I recognize that's, for others, that can be hard. And so the word itself can be a bit lettered.
Yeah, I agree 100%. But here's the truth. When I made the decision to, come from A&M and go to Lone Star, the honors college, it was actually me choosing something for myself.
Yeah.
For the first time in my life, I'm like, I want to make my own decision. I want to pick my career that I would like to pick.
Yeah.
And when I look back on it now, I chose my mental health. like in the sense of like I chose with all this uncertainty that I had, that I picked the right major or not. I chose myself. I chose something that can benefit me in this in a sense. I can feel a sense of calmness. Sense for the career I chose, and I chose to not carry the weight of just choosing something for the sake of choosing something. Yeah, I chose something not only on a journey that's on my own, on a journey that's with a community. Yeah, the honors college. I got to research more. I got to look at the different opportunities that I get. Maybe could be a career for me. And I'm like, man, this is so cool. There's so much out there in this world that students can choose. And I'm like, dude, this is awesome. There's so many opportunities. If I'm being honest right now, it's hard to pick one. Yeah, it is hard to pick one because there's so much things that you can love. And, that's the beauty of it. And that's where it ties into learning. There's beauty in learning different pathways and different courses. And that's what I got the chance to do myself there.
So I'm curious, if I may, and share where you feel comfortable sharing. And I recognize this is your podcast, but going back to what you were saying about failure in perhaps one decision that doesn't go the way you want, and then making this another. When you chose to leave A&M for a different path, two-part question: did you feel like that was a failing decision? And now that you've been in this new path for a year, how would that perception have shifted?
If I'm being honest, at first, I did feel a little bit overwhelmed when I made the decision to not continue my journey at A&M. If I felt like I was going to be judged by other people. If I'm being honest, like, oh, you went to a great school in Texas A&M, like, why didn't you stay there and just stick it out and tough it out and just become an engineer? And I was like, if I'm being honest, I felt, a little bit scared at first because I was like, I'm not sure where my path is going to go. And then I visited Lone Star for a bit, and then I learned about the honors college. And I learned about that there's a beauty in learning like communities like the honors college. And I felt like for me personally, when I was at A&M, I did have a couple of peers here and there, but I didn't really have a sense of community because over there I was just in my dorm alone and then just going to class, coming back. And I felt that was what I was missing.
Yeah.
And that's why the beauty I found of it was in the honors college. And also there's a sense of like, man, you're not on the journey alone. You're with other people who like to work hard, who like to have that work ethic. And to be honest, at the end of the day, it was a beautiful journey. Yeah, because I got to learn about things in honors, like the research portion of honors. I got to meet amazing professors, including yourself.
Maybe at least. I think you had a lot more amazing professors, but I appreciate that.
Of course. And to my listeners out there, the journey can be scary at first when you change a decision, but find a sense of people, find a sense of community, whether it's small group of friends, whether it's academic community like the honors college, or whether it's trying to find a community, whether it's a church, an organization, things like that, because I think that's important to have people you can rely on, people you can share emotion with, people you can do things with. So
yeah. And there's a variety, like you said. I love how you gave that variation in the types of communities. Many folks do find that sort of solace in the church or civic organizations or sports teams or what have you. And I think there's no one right answer to that. It's kind of like, where do we feel drawn? Where do we feel we can contribute? And sometimes we don't know what that is at all. So I guess my thought would be is just try something, right? See what's something you're interested in or something you're passionate about. Look for a group to connect with, and it's always scary on the front end, putting yourself out there. You could probably even talk about that, right? When you first came to honors, you had a hope, you had a dream of what it could be, but you didn't necessarily know until you got into it. But I think we just have to take that step, right? There's a little bit of faith involved, that you are trying something that's hopefully going to be beneficial for you. And in this case, it sounds like for you, it was. And I hope that anybody who's in a point of change is willing to give themselves that opportunity or to have something great to occur.
Right. I agree. And I want to say this to anybody who's listening right now. You are allowed to change your mind. You are allowed to reroute. No, this is not quitting. This is not failure. That is something that is grave and that I applaud people for choosing themselves in their journey. I agree 100%.
And I think that ties in exactly what you did. I hope now that you've had this experience a year later, you've been able to sort of reevaluate that decision. And hopefully all the concepts of perceptions and the concerns and how, whether it's loved ones or friends or, associates at the previous institution, how they may view it. But in reality, you were the brave one, right? Like you were living and making decisions that weren't the easy decision. The easy decision was to stay. It might not have been the fulfilling decision. It might not have even been the best decision for you, but the easy decision would have been to stay. You chose the harder road because you saw an opportunity, because you saw you wanted something more for yourself. I think that's amazing, dude. That's not easy. I don't think a large percentage of folks who are faced with similar circumstances make that choice, So, and it's not only just making the choice to leave, it's making the choice to do something afterwards.
Right.
Having some sort of a path to pursue. It's easy to just say, close everything down. Well, that's not necessarily healthy.
Yeah.
Right. So it says we're talking mental health. That's not healthy. You do have to have some type of a plan moving, continue that motion, that forward motion, like you said.
Right. Yeah. I agree 100%. And, and that's something that I have to say, like you said, we can't just close everything down. You can't just say, oh, I'm just going to
shut yourself on the wall. Yeah,
exactly. You need to take some time for yourself after making a decision, and take some time.
Absolutely.
You just have a little bit of a plan of what you want to do afterwards, whether it's it doesn't even have to be academics. I know people that do trades, people that do things like that, and it just helps them in the long run, right?
Oh, I mean, absolutely. Yeah. There's some folks out there incredibly successful in the trades, make a heck of a lot more money than I do, right? So depending on how you define success, mine's always just been, can you be a contributing member of a community? And if that's the case, then lock on, go for it. But yeah, I think there's a lot of different ways to get there. The one thing I was going to say, based on what we were just saying, is when you make a decision to stop something, you may not always have a really well planned out thought idea of what that next step is. And that's okay too, right? I think for me, the idea is, as you're working into the idea of semblance of a plan, what is your mindset? What's your energy? If you're thinking of trying to find ways to move forward, if you've got that willing spirit and you're putting the energy and investing in yourself to come up with that, then you're going in the right direction. You might not always have that next step clearly defined. And I think that's important for your listeners to know, because if we can only make a decision to turn from this towards something else, once we have a really defined plan, that might be a barrier to some people, right? Yeah. And so I think, I mean, I don't know for you, did you know that you were going to join the Honors College and be part of Lone Star before you had made the internal decision to leave A&M?
If I'm being honest, no, I didn't know. And that was kind of the beauty of it, because the only thing I knew is that I was going to go to Lone Star in some way or form, because I was like, okay, let me try to go the route of finishing the associates first and then the bachelor's. But I went to Lone Star, visited the one here in Montgomery, and then I saw a little sign out there that said, have you interested in joining the Honors College? And I saw the sign for guerrilla marketing. That's true. And marketing does have had work. So there's a beauty. I'm like, man, that's awesome. That made me realize, hey, I'm maybe interested in this. And then I reached out, and then I remember, I think I ran into you like it was around December time. And I was upstairs. I was like, hey, I want to introduce myself. Hi, I'm Leo. That's awesome. And then I applied to the Honors College. I got in, and I was like, I just wanted to put myself out there, get myself introduced.
I mean, I've loved having you as a part of the community for the last year, dude. And I look forward to you making the most out of this next year for yourself. You're the perfect person in the Honors College. You're somebody who's looking to aspire. You're looking to get stuff out of this. You're trying to figure out what your pathway, knowing that there's all these options that you obviously can't do all of it, but what's going to be your pathway? What's going to be right for you? And you're investing that time into it, and yourself as well as the community. I mean, I wouldn't want anything more than that from any of our honors members. And so you making the best of it and letting us know what we can do to help support, or throwing in with different ideas and thoughts that we're all kind of pushing forward. I think that's great.
Yeah, I agree. And now I'm here semester in, and then we'll see where the journey takes me. I'm excited for this next year, see where this journey takes me. There's a lot of opportunities out, so I'm excited to go into this year, take advantage of the opportunities. So that's the thing in life. If you see an opportunity that comes in your way, and that you feel like you could be part of that, take it. And I feel like there's a sense of sometimes like, oh, I'm not sure if now's the right time, or if now is the time to do it. If you truly want something and feel like it's a part of your dream, go ahead and take it. Yeah. And that's what I feel like I've learned over the past couple of years, is just don't be shy. If you have an opportunity, take it, man. Yeah.
So I've got a story that relates to that concept that has nothing to do with going to school, but it's more of a family concept.
Okay.
Would that pertain? Do you think that's something to share?
Yeah.
So probably what I always felt was going to be one of the most important decisions of my life, and one of my biggest aspirations, was to have children and to raise, global compassionate citizens. Like that's been my goal for a long, long, long time. But when it came time to when my wife and I were trying to figure out when to have kids, in my head, I wanted to make sure we were going to be responsible about it, right? Like we're going to have everything that would be there, the foundation for our kids to be able to learn and grow and live and have that success and all of that. But we had to have that solid foundation first. And over time, I realized, I don't know if I ever would have gotten there. I never would have gotten to that sense of like, okay, we're ready. Like everything's good. It was more so like we made a decision like, all right, we know who we are and we know what we want to contribute to our kiddos. There's never going to be a right time financially. There's never going to be a right time job-wise. There's never going to be a right time this, that. You can always look for why something's not right. The question is, do you have enough to make it go forward and be right for you? And maybe even learn as you go along. And I think this ties back to what we were saying. Sometimes you won't have all the answers. You may not have this well-defined plan out, but do you have the willing spirit? Do you have the full heart to move it forward? Go for it. Take the chance. Give yourself that opportunity. And I'll tell you what, I got a couple of kiddos that I love to death, and I would not take back the decision that we made. If anything, I probably would have started sooner. I wouldn't have delayed as long, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I've a little bit outside of school, but I think that was certainly a similar experience for me that kind of ties in with what you were saying.
Right. Yeah. And I think it not only pertains to academics, it can pertain to anything in life. If any opportunity comes at you, and there's 100,000s of ways why it's not the right time, but there's also good ways why it's the right time. And, you make the effort to, when you make a decision, when you take advantage of an opportunity to make the effort to keep that opportunity with you and make it a part of your life, then, I believe you made the right decision. So, yeah.
Sounds great.
Yeah, man. And I think something else that I've been learning, and sometimes I wish I had learned way sooner, is that it's okay in life to feel emotions. I think it's important because we get this sense like, oh, we just have to push through it. You have to, oh yeah, not feel anything, just finish it off and see what happens next. And, for the longest time, I thought I had to be strong by not showing that emotion. I thought I was like, just deal with it. That's life, right? But part of that affected me because I bottled everything up. I bottled all these emotions inside myself. Then I was like, I thought I was protecting myself, but really I was actually breaking myself more than I think of it. And here's what changed me when I finally started opening up, when I let myself, show those emotions. Like sometimes you need a moment to, feel sad, feel angry, feel like you are not okay. And that's okay, because I believe it's okay to not be okay. And I like to tie into a really good movie. You've seen the movie Inside Out, the 25th Sun movie. Yeah. It is a really good example of that's so great. Showing us the new one out too. Yeah, there's another one too that came out last year. And it shows that being happy all the time, you don't really have to be happy all the time. Sure. You can sometimes, that's where you have people, community, tying back to community. You can have people you can share emotion with, right? It's okay to have a moment to, cry sometimes. It's okay to have a moment to feel angry, but, where the thing comes in is that you have to find a healthy way to balance those emotions. Because let's say I'm angry and I had a bad day at work. I feel like the best way to do that is, for example, go out to the gym and, get all that energy out and sometimes, for example, anxiety is a thing too that, people deal with nowadays. I feel like the thing that has worked for me is going to church, meditating and things like that can help, not bottle up those feelings, but have those feelings be expressed in a healthy way. So I feel like there's ways out there that we need to feel our full range of emotions. We just have to find the right way to express those emotions in a healthy, balanced way.
Yeah, so I completely agree. And I'm curious, Leo, do you feel like the way you just sort of talked about emotions and the ability to share emotions, or not share emotions, do you find that may be tied to gender in any way? And I asked the question because I've been listening to some stuff about like some toxic masculinity recently. And it's just been pretty interesting to hear that, but I'm just curious on your perspective.
I think it does. The reason why I say this is because I feel like there's this perspective of you're supposed to man up, right? You're supposed to not show emotions. You gotta stay strong. You're a soldier per se, right? But this goes with any gender. It's okay to show emotions on both sides, right? Because we're human. Yeah, we're not like some robots or AI that can just get things done and show no emotion, right? I think
Such a great example. There's a whole other world of around AI, and this isn't that podcast, not yet, right? But I agree with that, and I think that's actually what's going to take us into an AI generation, if you will, where we as humans still maintain some level of relevancy, which is the fact that we do have emotions and the fact that we can interact with individuals in real human ways that, at least not yet, the computers and AI are not able to do. But I agree with you. I think being able to find healthy ways to channel your energies and your emotions, to share those, be able to use your words to articulate how you're feeling, to be able to have outlets like you were talking about, going to the gym, or I know some students love rage rooms or things like that, right? Now, the other thing I would say with those is you always want to make sure that you're addressing the underlying situations that get you to that point, that it's not just always going and breaking something, but how can you make sure you can address the catalyst to that energy, to that rage. But being able to share in those, and again, with community or with counselors or therapists, with folks who are really invested in you being healthy and happy, that's where we start making a real impact on our mental health. That with that shift in society to recognize that health is, mental health and physical health are two sides of the same coin. And as long as we're able to prioritize it just as much as we do our physical health, if I fall off this stool and, break a leg, I would hope you'd call the ambulance, right? And you want to help give me some support, and I'd want to get that support. Same thing with mental health. So I think if we can make those sorts of adjustments, we can get to a better place where we can all feel like we can be our true selves and we can really contribute in ways. But I grew up similar to you, not showing emotion, being incredibly stoic, not crying at things, not voicing where my concerns, my pains, my ills were. Just suck it up and move forward. And so that was a moving forward that, yes, moving forward is good, but sucking it up and not necessarily doing so in a healthy way isn't always good. And I certainly had my share of those moments when I was younger, and probably still do today in different ways. So I think we're all constantly a work in progress on that.
Yeah, and I think there's a beauty, because I love that you said that the more that we normalize, the more that we say, hey, it's okay to feel, it's okay to cry, it's okay to not have it all together, the more we create spaces where people can feel safe and feel that, people cannot be okay sometimes, and we can create spaces where people can feel the need to share that emotion with people. And I think that's the beauty of relationships of people that are part of our lives. The fact that we can share emotion with them means that we're not in it alone. We're in it with people that we care about, that it means something in their lives. So I think that's important.
It has meaning. It absolutely has meaning.
But yeah, I want to say that, last thing is that sometimes just how powerful community is to our mental health and our healing, because the truth is healing doesn't happen in isolation, right? It happens when you combine minds, you combine community, and the fact that, you have people that can go through this with you. And I think it's important to take the chance to.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think there's also some stuff that people do, like you're even just talking about going to church and meditating. Now, you could say you're within the community of church,
right?
But your action memorization is probably
Very good.
Your action of meditation is probably more so of a personal action, right? Having a small group in a share, that's one thing, but being on your own and meditating, or being on your own and reading a book, it's true that maybe pertains to what you're dealing with. So you're trying to get some ideas and thoughts on how to come up with some action plans. Like there are things we can do even as individuals. I think what I'm hearing you say though is, don't feel like your plan needs to be restricted to individual, purposeful, sort of healing, growth, progress. Your community is a strong attribute and tool and asset to that. And I think sometimes we don't realize that we actually have a lot of inner strength to be able to do some of that healing work too. So I don't want to say it can only happen in community, but I think recognizing the value of that community, whatever that community you define it, right? I think that's a really important part for sure.
Right. And I want to say that thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to be here with us, for this conversation. I think it's important to take time to be with your students. That's exactly what you did. And you took the time out of your day to be here with me, even though I know you have a busy schedule and things like that. But it's amazing that professors who care about their students, who care about their community, take the time out of their day to be here with me. And you're an example of a relationship that I have.
Yeah. So I'm with you on that, man. I appreciate you. And I think it's exactly what you said. We have to invest in one another. And so to prioritize things like this are really important for me with students, for sure, because we're all members of this community together, like we've been saying. So I love what you're doing here. I wish you all the success as you move it forward. And if I can support in the future, let me know.
Sounds good. All right, guys. Well, thank you all again for taking the time out of your day to listen to this first episode. It's an amazing journey, and we're not done yet. There's a couple more episodes and a couple more guest speakers that will be here with me today. But I think Professor Menendez is a great first one to have the podcast with us. So I just wanted to say thank you, sir.
Thanks, Leo.
Of course.
Good to see you, bud.
Thank you, guys.
Cheers.
All right. Y'all take care, guys. Thank y'all.
Bye.